guys? Welcome to the video. John Bodine here with Redemptive Psych. Welcome to the needs of the INFP, who we'll be talking about today. I don't feel my most articulate today, but I think we can get through this and talk about one of the more, I think, interesting types out there. I love INFPs. They are, I think, underappreciated a lot. They're also, in my recent video, I talked about types that are most mistyped. I think they're one of the ones, largely because of FI Hero. Both the FI Heroes are hard to type. FI is still kind of a mysterious background function. It's sort of hard to spot. It often comes out through TE, through their cognitive friends, through their cognitive access. So in of itself, it's hard to spot. It's hard to appreciate it. Mercer, who many of you guys know, many of you guys are here from his channel, has talked about FI Hero being one of the most, the INFP especially, being one of the most underappreciated types, because FI is, it's hard to know what to do with in a society or in a group, but it still has a lot of value. And that's one of the things we're going to be discussing today, is the value of FI as a whole. I think if you're going to rank all the 8 functions from most appreciated to least appreciated, it would be in the top or in the bottom 2 or 3 least appreciated functions. Now, for you guys who haven't seen the series intro, we're talking about needs. The needs of every type, every need has 2 components. The need to give, right? We need other people to be receptive audiences to the things that we have to provide, but more typically, the need to receive also. Everything we're going to be talking about today, people have needs to receive, right? When we think about our needs, I need rest, I need this or that. It has both components. And like I've talked about in the video so far, if you guys want to go further into that, C.S. Lewis's 4 Loves book and Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages book are really important for this topic. I plan to go further with those topics later, maybe even talk about the love languages or something adjacent to that, because it's a helpful kind of aside, a helpful complementary tool for this typology space. So we're going to start with FI Hero and the needs that it has. The hero function needs expression and recognition. It's our strong tool. It needs to have the space to be expressed and the praise to be recognized, because it is our strong tool, is our strongest ability. It's our gift from birth, so to speak. So what do INFPs provide with their FI Hero? Okay, the biggest thing is encouragement. They are phenomenal encouragers. This is one of the reasons that makes them good counselors. Even if they're not counselors in a professional sense, they are good at providing that encouragement and that insight to help you recognize and feel good about the things that you are doing well. They are one of the best types at this. I've felt, I have some INFPs in my life. I love having them in my life. This is something that they provide consistently to me in our interactions, and I feel comfortable sharing with a lot of them what's going on, and they help me take a step back and reframe things and see, you know what, some of these things are going really well actually, and they could be, and they were going worse and now they're going better, and yes, not everything's perfect, but they give a heroic evaluation. Their ability to evaluate appropriately, feel good about certain things, provide encouragement is incredible. Somewhat related to that is advice. Now, a lot of people don't like the idea of giving advice, and that's because a lot of people don't give good advice. But INFPs, particularly INFPs who have been through some life, been through some difficult things, and who are well educated, who have gone through the time either to receive formal education or just to read and research on their own, they generally provide great advice. Really, all the STJs and the NFPs can be in this boat of the best advice givers. This is why INFPs are great at providing counsel to people. I don't just mean therapy, but being that guide, okay? In the ancient archetypes, someone who's like a counselor or a guide, that is oftentimes an INFP, and that's because INFPs, I think, are the undisputed best at providing advice and guidance, okay? So a lot of that comes through FI Hero because they evaluate things, okay? They see the big picture with NE, they see some of the perspectives with NE and TE, and then they can synthesize that together. They can filter through that really, and then provide something that is that is dense, that is meaningful, that is substantial for people's lives. And last here is feedback. They are great at providing feedback. It's kind of the other side of the encouragement. Because their ability to evaluate, FI evaluates, right? It weighs things out, it filters through things, and it picks up what has filtered through and provides that back to you. So FI as an individual function is really good at, like appraising like art or movies or books or a presentation, and that's involved with feedback, okay? Filtering through and providing feedback are kind of the same mechanism, and they excel at that. What does FI Hero need to receive? Care is the most constant thing for it. INFPs carry a lot with them, and FI is dying to be expressed and dying to express itself. And expression is especially important with FI Hero, who their expression is not always welcome, okay? There's some reasons for that are valid, some which are not. But what they seek is a person or a place where they can be cared for to provide their FI. And that's just going through how they feel about things. They carry a lot of emotional weight with them. They carry a lot of things that they're juggling. Space to express that. It's sort of like listening, but not exactly. It's sort of like an empathetic listening rather than just intellectual listening. Empowerment, we talked about this in the INFP video. They want to be empowered, right? They walk around kind of feeling powerless, and their road to becoming more powerful is often through being educated, through being part of an institution where they can move up and their gifts can be recognized over time. But they want to be empowered, and if you have an opportunity to give them to be empowered, that will at least meet the needs of their FI Hero. Whether they deserve it or should be there or not, that's a different question. We're just talking about the individual function at this point. But over time, INFPs will be drawn to whatever source of empowerment that they are aware of or that they find attractive. And last here, consideration. Okay, this goes hand in hand with FI being an underappreciated function. To offer consideration, okay, because when an FI Hero expresses itself, it's not always intelligible in the ways that other types are, like the ITPs. Like the TI users provide solutions and kind of more tangible things. FI is a little less tangible. So it's kind of like hearing them out and recognizing that the way they express themselves may not be the way that you think value exists in, but if you listen more carefully, they will have a lot of gems hidden in how they express. A lot of INFPs are very intelligent, but they don't express themselves always in ways that sound intelligent. Okay, so with their TE inferior, this is the place of our insecurity, right? They worry about looking bad, about being judged by others. They're also worried that the way that they judge themselves will be, that other people will be judging them with that same harshness with TI demon. They also judge others with TI demon as well with their FI Hero. Anyway, so the inferior needs reassurance because it's uncertain, it's insecure, it needs to be reassured, and it needs exploration, okay? Just like the way a baby grows up and becomes more mature is by being willing to explore within the space, and that space growing and growing and growing. What does the inferior need to receive? Celebrating honesty is very, very important, okay? INFPs hesitate to be honest because they don't want to make people look bad. They're worried about if they express something in an honest way, what people will think of them, which is one of the reasons they're sometimes afraid to share their real opinion about something because they're being held back by TE inferior of like, oh, what will they think of that? How is that going to come across? Will they think of it in the wrong way? Are they going to challenge something that's really important to me? Maybe I don't have an answer for them. Okay, that's all part of the conversation that the INFP may be feeling. So when they're being honest, don't punish them for that. And in fact, you can help them warm up to you by you being honest, okay? And them being able to recognize that it's safe to be honest around you because you are someone who celebrates honesty above everything else, okay? This next one is very important, kind of in line with the consideration thing. Intelligent regard. Regarding them as intelligent, if you assume that ahead of time, instead of like, I guess what I'm saying is, if you have this intelligent regard for them, you're going to see how smart a lot of INFPs are. A lot of INFPs are very smart. It's harder to judge the intelligence of FI than TI. TI is very obviously intelligent or not, depending on the quality of the solutions or the problems that TI is aware of. FI is a little different. It's more about principles. It's more about advice. It's like packages of information that they have gathered over time. It's harder to judge as being smart or not smart. But if you regard them as intelligent, you will see some of their perspective unfolding from the depths. And most of the INFPs I've met are actually quite smart. Criticize carefully. They're very sensitive to the group judgment of their status, of their reputation. So if you're gonna, if an INFP does something wrong or something that you don't agree with, if you just like rip that open in front of other people, that's not very wise unless you're aware of that and doing that intentionally for some other reason. If you just go recklessly criticizing everyone, including them, around the group, that is really going to damage the inferior. Be very, very careful when you do that. And I would say if you're going to criticize them, take them aside and do it one-on-one, because they're going to be so distracted by like you destroying their reputation in front of everyone else. And maybe you're not aware of it. Maybe you are. I've seen some people do this very intentionally, and it just ravages the INFP. So I recommend don't doing that. Don't do that. Be very careful how you criticize. We all need criticism, right? We all need feedback at least, and you can present criticism in a constructive way, in a gentle way. I think this is the thing that the NFJs are good at because we're compatible with the INFP. But for every other type, you don't have to become something else. Just be mindful about, hey, if someone's very sensitive to anything I say about them, maybe I should be careful about what I say, but more importantly, when I say it, when I'm around them, or do I take them off to be in a one-on-one space with them. Okay, what does TE Inferior provide? INFPs are, in my opinion, the best listeners out there. They are phenomenal listeners. Another reason why they're great at being a therapist or a counselor. We think as counselor being the same thing today, but being someone of counsel, someone who provides advice, someone who can listen, understand the picture, then provide their feedback, provide advice. They are great at listening. They're very patient. They're very long-suffering with their listening. They want to understand. NE and TE together, probably the best functions to understand people. And when it's the parent and the inferior, a little bit more careful. They really, really care about getting the perspective right. And related to listening is the perspective, okay? They are great mediators because of this. Not only can they excel in the one-on-one, but they excel at mediating between different people. NE and TE together understands the different perspectives, the different intentions, and the different mindsets going in here, and they create that bridge that few other people can create. And then last here is research. People wouldn't not necessarily think this, because ISTJs and some of the other types are regarded as like the apex of research. Robert Greene, for example, who is written a lot of long books, and I believe is an INFP, often typed as an INTJ. He is an incredible researcher, and he has his team of researchers, and he reads a bunch, and his FI is able to comb through all these facts and these biographies and these stories and package together valuable information that's built around these principles or these laws, right? Most of his books are either about laws or about packages of information. They can be phenomenal at researching. A lot of INFPs are just kind of invisible to other people, and people wouldn't think they're good at anything because they stay invisible and they're kind of in their feelings and things like that. They can be phenomenal at researching. I'd recommend giving them an opportunity to show that if you have an opportunity to provide that to them. Okay, going lastly here to the NI Critic. NI Critic's very critical about its own choices. It sees the way things could go wrong, so it's like, well, I might as well not choose anything. Like the INTP, INFPs tend to prefer to be in a supportive role. They want to help other people make choices and pursue a vision. That's not to say that INFPs are not leaders. A lot of them are leaders, but in general, particularly in their home life, for example, or in their relationships, they prefer that supportive role. That's where they're more comfortable, and that is a big part due to NI Critic. They don't infuse their vision or their desire on the situation as much. They hold space for other people's desires and intentions to be manifest. The critic needs affirmation and evidence. Affirmation is because the critic is very critical and it's like, well, sees all the ways things could go wrong. Its perspective is one of an idealist that has kind of been soured over time, okay? Like I've talked about in the other videos, the critic is this thorny, spiky thing, but underneath that is this kind of childlike idealist who wants people to care about their vision. Yes, INFP, if people thought through their choices much more carefully and picked only the best choices, the world would be a much better place. Yes, I believe that is true. And then evidence. For you personally to connect with the INFP, you demonstrating that you care about how you make choices, and the care of that can take you a long way with the INFP. And then also evidence to them, which we'll talk about more in a moment, you showing them in the past or in the present good decisions that they have made when they have moved out of paralysis and actually committed to something on their kind of their own willpower, their own accord. That encourages the critic to say, hey, you do have the capacity to make good choices, even though you're aware of the risks. So with providing them what they need, challenging stagnation is sort of the first and obvious one. They can be stagnant a lot. Even if they're successful and accomplished, they can stagnate for periods of time. Some of that is necessary because NI critics, it's a little slower to commit to something. They got to filter through the options, weigh them out. That's fine. But if they're just delaying indefinitely, challenge their stagnation. There's never a perfect choice, and this is what NI critic struggles with, especially the INFP, because they're an idealist. They're looking for the perfect path, the perfect choice. Right? It doesn't exist. So challenging that is that's kind of the immediate thing that jumps out. I already talked about this, but referencing the past. When you're challenging them, you can reference the past. That, hey, I noticed these 2 or 3 times when you were stuck here and you made this great decision, and look how it turned out. You went anyway, even though you perceived some of the ways it could go wrong. Just start the journey. Trust that you'll figure out your way as you go. Referencing the past forces the critic to look at its own success. And if there's nothing more humbling to the critic when the critic beats up on yourself than looking at your own success and seeing, okay, you know what, I did make a good decision there and a good choice. Another technique to do this is to externalize the choice. This is good for all introverted critics. For example, if you make them, it's sort of like Jordan Peterson's law about like treat yourself like someone else that you're responsible for. He's an NI critic too. If they're having trouble making a choice, if you help them look at it from an external perspective, like look at themselves like they were someone else, and then tell them, okay, what advice would you give this person who happens to be you? That kind of quote unquote trick can be helpful to externalize it and activate the parent more than the critic, and the parent is more active. Okay, what does NI critic provide? It's very, very careful. Okay, it's not going to make a choice until it has weighed through things and arrives at filtering through the best choices. Okay, NI critic filters through the choices. With any parent, it's aware of the ways things could go wrong. It's aware of obstacles that may come up. So with that, it's very careful. Okay, this is one of the reasons they're great at counseling, at providing counsel and therapy, because they see the paths and where they might lead. So they only pick the paths that are the better paths, and then they will also help you see, or help themselves see, the way those paths could go wrong. Being aware of what's to come, steering around that, is one of the INFP's great skills. And then lastly here, kind of related to being careful with it, is commitment. Okay, NI critic might be slow to move, slow to make that jump, but when they do, they're all in. NI critic is all in. The critic, especially the introverted critics, they may wait to commit, right? They have to think about it. They have to filter through it. Once they're in though. And when an INFP is in pursuit of their vision, their goal, after it's taken them so long to finally commit to it, they are all in for it. And linked with their SI child, this kind of innocent and enduring function, they can just kind of last through and accomplish their goal basically no matter what. All right, guys, that's the needs of the INFP. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.